Hello everybody and welcome back to my Let's Play of The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past. This is thejonnymar, and we are attempting the second dungeon of the Dark World this time, the Swamp Palace. And this is a harrowing dungeon of twists and turns and evil enemies that we've never seen before. Well, not really. Actually, it's just a bunch of really annoying enemies that we're gonna have to take on this time. So bombing over here to the left gets us to a chest which has in it the map. And as I've been doing in all of my dungeons so far, I am going to be getting the map, the compass, and the big key. Now, I hate these little water bugs. A lot of these rooms are really frustrating because you have these water bugs and these little creatures shooting fireballs in addition to the little water spout or water bubble enemies that come after you. And pretty much every enemy in here does not freeze when you use the Ether Medallion. Instead, they just disappear, which means you can't restore your health with the hammer. Now, you can actually bomb the wall here. It just takes you to a couple items in the other room. They're not really worth my effort, so I'm not going to go after them. Push this switch to bring water into the room, and this will allow you to access the rest of the dungeon. As you can see, this floor is now flooded. So swim on over and head to the left. Now this is the main room where you're going to be arching off of or going off of for the rest of the dungeon. This room here to the south is completely optional because all you get out of it is the compass. So if you're not interested in the compass, of course you can skip it. That's what you do to get it. Now, the big chest is tantalizingly in the middle of the room here, but obviously we don't have the big key yet, so we can't get it. So instead we're gonna head over here because we need a little key to access a room. Dodge and weave. I am probably going to take quite a few hits in this dungeon because I get a little lackadaisical or lazy and I don't really try to dodge too much. And a lot of these rooms have very tight quarters in terms of spikes or corners or enemies, and so it's really hard to dodge things. And for some reason, I'm just not very apt to use my sword when I should. So I might have to use a potion much earlier than I expect. So here's our other switch we need. Let's hit the crystal switch there. And of course run into the spikes. Again, we need to flood the room. And to save yourself some backtracking, hit the switch again to raise up the blue blocks. That's because the big key, in order to access it, you need the red blocks to be down. So dodge and let's go for another swim. Couple more rooms and we'll have the big key. Head over here to the left, push these blocks, and head on upstairs. I really hate this room. We've got a big fire thing in the middle. We've got all these water bugs. Things shooting. Fireballs. Go in the right pit. If you go in the left one, it takes you to a chest with 20 rupees in. And as you can see by my rupee counter, I really do not need rupees at this point. And bingo bango, there's our big key. So now we can get the special item of this dungeon. So we have to head back to the main room. And I am getting pretty low on health. Luckily, there are some hearts coming up that I can get. Otherwise, I'll have to use my potion. All right, hop down, head up here to the north, and get your special item. The hook shot. Boing. use it over here to the right to get a little key that lets you progress to the last part of this dungeon. You can also go over to these little platforms all over the place. Again, just a few little items, nothing of real consequence. Now, this room has a secret switch that opens up these doors to the north. You have to push the statue here onto the switch. You might think, of course, to go through this door right in front of you, but actually you want to go through the one on the right side. So try to dodge these. Ugh, come on. Jeez. Stop being so stupid, Johnny. Alright, one more switch to hit. This drains out the water and lets us progress. And by heading south, we can get some rupees and also some much needed hearts, for me at least. I'm gonna be maxed out on my rupees pretty soon. Link can only hold 999. And that is a nice thing about this game. You don't have to upgrade your wallet. Ugh. This is before that came along in Ocarina of Time. Now you gotta head through the second one from the right. And this allows you to get down to the last level. Let's get a couple more hearts before we head down. So we're almost through with this dungeon already. Not too long. The next couple dungeons actually are pretty short. 2, 3, and 4 aren't too bad, but once we get to 5 and 6, and of course Turtle Rock, which is 7, things get much more complicated. Let's just run right into the water bugs. That's a good strategy. Alright, boss time. This is Argus. You have to use your hook shot to grab his little bubbly boys, pull them towards you, and since I have the third power sword, it only takes one shot to kill him. If you're doing this dungeon with the master sword, it does take a couple shots to kill each of them. So just dodge, go around the room, and grab them as they come near you. And finish them off. Once they're all dead, Argus jumps off the screen and attempts to squash you. Now, if you know your geometry pretty well, you can predict where he's going to appear. Apparently, I don't know my geometry very well. So anticipate where he's going to be, and with the red sword, you only have to hit him, I think, 4 times. Yep. And I think with the master sword, it's about 6 or 7, maybe 8 times. So that's that. That's the Swamp Palace, number 2. So we've got 1, 2, and 4 down. We just have 3 to go. And then we'll be back to our normal chronological order. Except we won't be, because I'm going to be skipping 5 and doing 6. You're welcome. As long as they live, huh? So basically we have to kill whoever has it now, right? Not really a hero thing to do, but I'm up to it. Ganondorf. I do have magical powers, some pretty awesome medallions. And she does mention all the different warp points. There are quite a few around the map. Although I don't really use a ton of them. I only use like 2 or 3. Ganon, evil king of darkness. Of course I understand. And let's move on. So, before we head to Dungeon 3, which is the Skull Dungeon in the Lost Woods, or the Skull Forest in the Dark World, we're going to pick up a couple items. So I'm going to head back to Kakarika Village. And there are 2 heart pieces I want to pick up, and 1 special item. So I need to be in the Dark World to get them. So So I'll use this teleporter just north of town. And whoa, I've never had that happen before. Now I know usually if you try to teleport and you end up inside of an item, it sends you back, but you would think that couldn't happen with a stationary teleporter. Yes, it can. So remember the cemetery where we were able to drop down to the area from the beginning of the game with the bustable walls? Well, there is an extra item in the Dark World version of that cemetery. Ugh. Come on, get through here. First, we're gonna get a heart piece. Head up onto this ledge. Use your magic mirror to go back to the light world. And there are a ton of bombs and some hearts in here. No, not the ocarina. And in the actual cemetery itself, we need to get into the gravestone on the far right. So to do that, hop down, cut yourself through here, and teleport again. And you need to sprint into this grave to open it up. And this gives you access to the magic cape. I love this item. It allows you to disappear so enemies can't hurt you. It also allows you to walk through certain parts of the game, obstacles and such. So our immediate use for it is to get a heart piece, since you need it to get through a barrier. So remember our path to get up to Death Mountain in the light world? Well, here in the dark world, you can't actually get to Death Mountain that way. In fact, Death Mountain is inaccessible from the ground. You have to actually access it from the teleporter in the light world on top of Death Mountain. So read this sign. Give a piece of heart to the person with the magic cape. So you need 2 items to get this heart piece. You do need the hook shot, which is why I didn't come and get this before. And then you need the magic cape, which we just got. So use the hook shot to get across this pit. And use the magic cape to get through this little bouncy barrier. And there's our heart piece. Now then, Man, I hate crows and I hate birds. Okay, now we're ready for Dungeon 3. But first, let's go in the fortune teller and I'll show them off. I mentioned them earlier, but didn't actually use them. So if you talk to the fortune teller, he'll tell you a little secret about the game, but more importantly, he'll restore all of your health. So he mentions there's something hidden in the Dark Pyramid. Actually, something pretty important. And once we beat Dungeons 5 and 6, we'll check out what that is. So to access Dungeon 3, you have to head north through the forest here. There are a couple different pathways that you can go, but only one of them actually leads to the dungeon. You can walk right over this pit. Now, the third dungeon's pretty frustrating because it has a lot of different entrances and areas that you can go into. So unless you know exactly where you're going, it can take a lot of time to get through. Luckily, I do know where I'm going. So in my next episode, we will take on the Skullwoods dungeon. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.